All right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right. Says we're live. Wonder if there's any truth to that. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, Wayfarer. Time for another live jive archive. This one's entitled Short Transmission and Let's Talk Shop. So I'm going to open up the chat here in a minute for any and all who may be interested. Your Grand Wizard of the Hour, Esoteric Order of Dagon, your friend and well-wisher Frank Monday, inviting you to once again hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if it's your first time, don't let it be your last time. Broadcasting to you from the central kingdom of the celestial dragon, Twilight Zone will peeking, far behind the bamboo firewall. Greetings to you, Wayfarer, Wizard, Warrior, Wanderer, and Wayfarer alike. Wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever you may be receiving this transmission, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. If you're waking up to this or you're laying down to it, you are welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening, make sure you go check me out on buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday. You know the place. Put a little something, something in the tip jar. Gotta keep the lead in the pencil, right? The pep in my step. The jelly in my donut. Don't be trying to take jelly out of my donut. Get your own donut. Know what I'm saying? You're all good looking, sexy people. Let's go ahead and start off with the adoration of Abraxas. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one, creator of heaven and earth, maker of all things visible and invisible, master of both the light and the darkness. He who was, is, and shall be. We adore thee and we invoke thee. Send us one of your divine spiritual agents, our holy guardian angel, to protect and guide us through the innumerable snares of the earthly sphere, and that beautiful, refreshing, cleansing wind to disperse all that odious, obnoxious negativity and endless human opinion. Teach us those secret things which we must know for the completion of the great work, the coalescence of the quintessence of the Philosopher's Stone, and the glory of thine ineffable name, Adonai ani ahava yodevahe. So it is commanded and confirmed. So mote it be. Amen. Ra. All right, good magic. Hope you all good looking sexy people are doing all right out in Happy Land tonight. Let's go ahead and get into the show. Showtime, baby. Checking the chat room right now, see if there's any wandering wayfarers out there in Happy Land that would like to meet up and have a little chit chat about everything that is going on in the world today, man. It's really a dynamite circus out there, right? Bread and circus, said Caesar. Give the people what they want. And what I want right now is a cup of this dark, beloved black gold. You know what the old magician said? I like my magic like I like my coffee. Dark and black. Black magic. Old Ozzy Osbourne, man, he was the wizard, wasn't he? At one time, he was one of the greatest performers on earth. And he sang that beloved song to the old Grand Master of the Aeon of Horus. Mr. Crowley, what went on in your head? Oh, Mr. Charming, did you speak to the dead? That's about all of it that I remember. Old Mr. Aliaster Crowley, so unholy, like a roly-poly, mired in the dirt. That's okay. He called himself the Beast 666, and he brought forward a message of love, right? Orgiastic love. He liked poking around a little bit in the pig pen, and he said that magic is the art and science of creating change to occur in conformity to the magician's will, and to do what thou wilt. For that is the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And what does that mean? What does that mean exactly? What the hell was he talking about? What was this great dark night of the soul and the crossing of the abyss? And to get in conversation and communication with your holy guardian angel, your higher divine genius. What did he mean by that? All right, wasn't he just groping in the dark to try to find the Christ consciousness within himself and to reunite with God in his holy heavenly temple, the heavenly kingdom? And he did. Eventually he went home, right? A great man once told me, he said, we're all just here to walk each other home. And if you take that attitude, if you see another wayfarer along the way and you say, hey, weary traveler, have you traveled far? Right? And he says, only from east to west. Then you know you're among a true brother of the way, because we meet on the level and part on the square and try to keep things balanced in that way. We know the secret handshake, a tip of the hat, a wink of the eye, a sly smile reminds you that you're among kindred spirits, comrades, and Frater at Soros, people who know you, your beloved kindred. And it's good to be among friends and family. And sometimes there's a miscreant or an enemy amongst us, and you got to keep your enemies close sometimes. Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies even closer. I don't know if I believe in all that. At least keep an eye on them, right? Know what they're up to. Be wary of those treacherous, backstabbing betrayers. They exhibit all of the negative qualities in life, right? We know those qualities to be kindness, compassion, truth, loyalty, fellowship, brotherhood, right? And what do they exhibit? They exhibit mistrust, insincerity, disloyalty, falsehood, and deception. They represent Team Evil, and we know clearly who they are. We know that the leader of Queen Evil is a wicked, vile bitch. A goddess of darkness, Lilith, Kali, the destructor, the destroyer of filial piety, the vilifier of matrimonial bliss. She tries to take it all away, he or she. You never know which item they're sporting, prime material plane, but we know the sickness and death that they bring. Plague, famine, war. I was in a chat with Jax this morning. Chats with Jack Talcott. He had a beautiful message of nourishing the heart and bringing forward your best foot forward. A message of positivity and right, the absence of all that is evil. I mean, yeah, obviously you can't get rid of all of it, but you can certainly mitigate it. I think that our highest divine archetype and the epitome of these divine qualities was the Prince of Peace, Jesus Christo, right? The great embodiment of sevens. 777 is Christ's number. As 666 is the number of the beast, and 333 is the number of the gate guardian, Karanzam. And so when we learn the angelic names, it's just more intellectual dichotomy of a sphere of which man only gropes in darkness to know. There are those among us who become prophets and connect directly with the Godhead and his message for mankind, which first and foremost is love. Love is the law. And it's not the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law that we should strive to embody. Laws will be forgotten and rewritten and brought forward again. And it's this great process of change and adapting to change that's essential to wayfarers of all times, especially those who are focused on spiritual cultivation and want to bring about that real change in themselves that can aid in the transformation of the world around them and around all of us. Is it not said that as above, so below, as within, so without? So if outside of yourself you're focused and you see some things wrong, shouldn't you make some internal corrections, right? Calibrate, sharpen your saw, make sure that your compass is aligned with true north, and then move forward. You don't want to move forward in darkness. If your tools are unserviced and failing you, if they're broken, they say even a broken clock is right twice a day, but you're not going to get very far with a broken compass. A broken moral compass is what we're facing in the world today. And it's that way in the world every day, it seems, right? It's always been that way, always is that way, and always will be that way. So we use the analogy in Taoism of the archer firing at a target. The target is spiritual cultivation and the Philosopher's Stone, genuine spiritual immortality and reunion with the heavenly kingdom, the celestial palace above. And some people think it's just an abstract crock of shit, right? That there's nothing out there. Well, even the nuts and bolts guys are starting to see the revelation. UFOs and UAPs and various spirits of the sky revealing themselves. And why is that? Right? There are certain times in history when the spirits of the deep and the spirits of the above start to reveal themselves. And in those times, true spiritual warriors have to bring forward the light once again to guide the people out of darkness. And I'm not saying I don't have any delusions of grandeur. I'm not proffering myself on the altar of sacrifice or martyrdom. No, the exact opposite. I'm here among all of you seeking the light and seeking the truth. I'm just looking for a little bit of fellowship and companionship to seek it out together. Paranormal Encounters is the order of the day. Once again, right? Open lines, Paranormal Encounters. I certainly do like to hear your tales, Wayfarer. I like to hear about your journey, where you are right now, and where you're going. So if you do have an opportunity to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, that would help out a lot. You know what they say. Keeps the old algobots barking like Pavlov's dog. That conditioned stimulus, right? Stimulus response reaction. Conditioned, classical conditioning. Forgot who did all that work. Seems like Freud did a lot of it, but he wasn't the one. Oh, Pavlov. It's in the name, right? Yeah. Sometimes you get in the weeds with so many data points to connect. That's why we simplify things in the Tao. We make it real easy. Taoism is the easiest thing to study, man, because you don't have to study anything at all. And you realize that Socrates might have been onto something when he said the most intelligent people in the world learn from everything around them. Less intelligent people have to learn from the school of hard knocks, their own experiences, and they seldom do at that. And then the absolutely foolish, the most asinine, idiotic, stupid people in the world, well, they already know everything, right? They don't need to learn anything because they already got it all figured out. They are a cup full, brimming over with ignorance and deceit and falsehood and all kinds of happy horse shit that doesn't make any kind of sense. So I like to consider myself a student of life, try to learn from all those things around me, whether they be people, places, events, and ideas, conceptual ideas, ideation, the mind, when we get right back down to brass tacks, don't the 7 Hermetic Principles teach us that first and foremost is the mind? And this is not meant to be an intellectual exercise in the dichotomy of the wholeness of life, but it's meant to be a philosophical inquiry into the big age-old question, what's the point, right? What is the absolute point of the whole thing? What's the meaning of life? Why are we here? What are we getting done? And I would direct you back to that beloved prophet of the Aeon, Howard Philip Lovecraft, who grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, when he quipped in such a succinct way, "No new horror can be more terrible than the daily torture of the commonplace." And if I can break you out of that torture, if I can alleviate some of that torture here with this short transmission, then join me and let's talk shop. One thing I wanted to direct all of your attention to was recently a wonderful little channel here on YouTube, because I do like to talk about all the great, good work that many people are doing here on YouTube. It is called Der Vermis Mysterious, the mystery of the worm. So that's a direct allusion to one of H.P. Lovecraft's fictional works, and I'm not sure where it first appeared, but I do remember reading it in Robert Bloch, I believe. He wrote a short story by the same title, Mysteries of the Worm. Robert Bloch. Yeah, Robert Bloch's character in the Shambler from the Stars, is that what the one it's called? The Lurker from the Stars, I believe. I'll have to look it up again because I've forgotten. You know, memory is fallible. But Robert Bloch's De Vermis Mysterious. Yeah, there it is there. So the YouTube channel is called De Vermis Mysterious. And recently he released, I think just a couple of hours ago, he released The History of Cosmic Horror with H.P. Lovecraft. And he does a wonderful exploration. It's like an 18-minute video. I would suggest if you enjoy Lovecraft content and cosmic horror, get over there and check it out. Sub his channel. He's just under 9,000 subs right now. He's at 9.57 thousand subs. This video released... Jesus, it says 9 months ago. That can't be right. I just got alerted to it today. But it says that it's only got 1,000 views. Lovecraft and Cosmic Horror 9 months ago. Really? Wow. So 10% of his sub base has watched it. Yeah, really good though. Definitely check it out. It's titled, this specific video that I watched this morning, it's titled H.P. Lovecraft, The History of Cosmic Horror. Lovecraft himself did a really wonderful exploration. I think a PhD level thesis on horror, Gothic horror, and horror in literature. I think that his work was called Horror in Literature. And yeah, it's wonderful. I've read it numerous times. I've listened to the audiobook numerous times. It's just a wonderful thing to go through. I'm a lariat, a bit of a lariat, maybe a layman lariat, right? An amateur scholar, but I definitely like to indulge in some of Lovecraft's darker secrets. When I first started studying Lovecraft, again, it was like finding him for the first time all over again. I kind of read a little bit of it in high school, but I didn't feel like it was really powerful writing. And I think part of the reason was because there seemed to, I didn't want to admit it, but there's a bit of a learning curve, right? There's a lot of language and terminology in there that you're not at once familiar with because some of it's archaic now. And some would argue some of the ideals are archaic. But when you really get down to it, was he being racist or was he just being observant? And so people like to say, oh, he was so racist. And it's like, really? All he ever did was kind of reflect on what was going on around him. So people don't like it when you call a spade, or sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. He was just describing cigars. He wasn't trying to vilify any characters, any of the unwashed masses seething and writhing and lapping up at the hills of the Statue of Liberty. And, you know, most times people are trying to look for something better in their life, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just trying to come over and destroy what you have out of bitterness and vindictiveness, and for no other reason than to sow discord and destruction. I've been coming across a few fellows like that here recently in Happy Land. Right, they jump on and they run their mouth and they're full of darkness and toxicity and really just like, oh my God, just displaying the hurt child. And it can be odious and intolerable to an extreme. Very few, in fact, step up and try to have a fun, interesting conversation. There are a few, though. The Machine Lies, Jack Talcott. I enjoy listening to Flow State's program sometimes too. I try to get on there, but he always kicks me off, man. I don't know what it is, but I trigger that dude something fierce. He just ain't got no time or tolerance for old Frank Monday for some reason. That's all right though. And to each his own. I guess they might sometimes think that I'm after what they've got, but can you imagine? Right? Why in the world I would want to exchange the diamond within my soul for the dirty little ball of cow dung that some of them are sporting. And I'm not pointing out any individual in particular. Good fun though. I crossed paths with Hank something, Flamico or something. I can't say his last name. I'll have to ask him sometime. He's looking good. He's got the red hat and red shirt on, just sporting the flamboyant tendencies of his inner nature. Good fun, good magic. Jack's looking good. He's got this nice beard going on. If you guys don't know, Jack is headed off to a bit of a spiritual retreat, a training session in transformation, and everyone's looking forward to that. It's taking place in my hometown, the city of Lost Angels. And so maybe he'll find an angel there, or maybe an angel will find him there. And it's good to connect with the angels. Right? I connect daily with the archangels. Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Oriel. And there are others. Sandalphon, Megatron, Metatron, Tetratron, Synthetron. Many of these angels that are within and around us, that support and sustain us, because we are God's children. Each and every one of us that seeks the light and turns his back to darkness, that can face the truth directly, and doesn't worry that the old heart, right? Like that message he was bringing forward, nourishing the heart, that it's not heavier than a feather. Don't make your heart heavy, friend, with the sins of the spirit. Be kind and considerate to your fellow man and woman. Embrace natural law. Seek the glory of God in all things. And there are many ways to do that. Each individual has a unique virtue that they can bring forward to the table and have a conversation in polite company. And that's where I like to be. I like to be in peace and quietude most of the time. again, being on some of these recent panels, like, it can be overwhelming. You get inundated with so many opinions coming at you, rapid fire, like a machine gun of ideas. 90% of them half formed, and they're all being presented as presuming upon intellectual brilliance, right? Look at me, look at my shining light, look at this idea I have. And they're all, a lot of them are, like I said, 90%, let's not deal in absolutes, right? Seem to be half-formed ideas and regurgitated shallowness that they haven't reached to the depths of. So that brings us back to our Solomonic tradition of deferring to God in all things, right? The grand architect. With that said, I'll offer you a bit of a reading from the teachings of the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor. And if anyone chooses to stop by and say hello, that would be fantastic. Let's see what we've got here. I just mentioned Robert Bloch. Let's have a look at what he's got going on for us. Okay, it's called The Shambler from the Stars. Interesting. Let me get a closer look at this. Weird Tales, 1935. I am what I profess to be, a writer of weird fiction and a spinner of tales, a man of mystery, a true natural-born magician. Since my earliest childhood, I have been enthralled by cryptic fascination of the unknown and the unguessable. It's what led me to God and the church in my early days. The nameless fears, the grotesque dreams, the queer, half-intuitive fancies that haunt our minds have always exercised for me a potent and inexplicable delight. In literature, I have walked the midnight paths with Poe, or crept amidst the shadows of Machen, combed the realms of horrific stars with Baudelaire, or steeped myself with earth's inner madness amidst the tales of ancient lore. A meager talent for sketching crayon work led me to attempt crude picturizations involving the outlandish denizens of my nighted thoughts. The same somber trend of intellect which drew me in my art interested me in obscure realms of musical composition, the symphonic strains of the planet Sui, and like were my favorites. My inner life soon became a ghoulish feast of eldritch, tantalizing horrors. It's really good, and that's one of his first pieces right there, The Shambler from the Stars. And he wrote it at the behest of Lovecraft. He was in Lovecraft's inner circle, and so some would postulate that they were gay lovers, but those are just those are the old haters. Haters gonna hate. That's what they do. That's why they got their name, right? Naysayers gonna say nay. Yeah. So don't be a hater. Be a lover, not a hater. Be a yay-sayer, not a naysayer. The opposite of a naysayer is a yes man, right? But it's not entirely true. Even every good yes man is going to give you the contrast you need. But who wants to be surrounded by haters and naysayers? They should be less than 1/3 of your company. And natural selection does bring that about. According to Socrates, 1/3 of the people will oppose you and hate you. 1/3 of the people will be completely disinterested in anything you have to say. And 1/3 of the people will love and support you. And so your only job really is to get the disinterested people interested, because haters gonna hate, and they're they may move from hatred to disinterest and start to ignore you, which is great. If they really despise you, then they should ignore you and they should show themselves to the door. But even the haters, really, they have an extreme love for hating, and that's why they stick around. They say, hey, how can I cause trouble? When can I throw a monkey wrench into their works? When can I sow discord, right? And those who sow the seeds of discord within themselves and others will reap the rewards of chaos and self-destruction. And they shall have their reward, because every action has an opposite and equal reaction. So don't be a hater. At least you want to be hated, right? Be a lover, and you too will be loved. He who does not trust enough will not be trusted. So go ahead and extend a little trust occasionally. Let's see what we've got here. Recently, I ran across some wonderful information here on the old internets. I thought I would share some of it with you. Entire screen. I'm just going to reveal it all. Make sure you get a quick look. Are you looking? Can you see it? There it is there. Entire screen. Let me shift that to that. Yeah, that looks good. And then plop up over here, the sleep of Sialam, the Gnostic Church, and a Bengal tiger. For those of you who are looking and interested to resume, it is far too common in practical everyday life to need extensive comment for man to demand from his legal wife all that a coarse, passionate nature may require to gratify its depraved appetite. He makes by right that which he has assumed to be his by right, and has not the slightest thought for the more delicate feelings of her whom his brutal nature has outraged. Such considerations to the animalized man would be ridiculous to the last degree. He has been satisfied, and that is all his coarse, dull nature can appreciate, while poor she, with a painful sigh, turns in disgust from the one whom our civilized law has made her lord, and sobs her miserable life away, and doubtless wonders how long it is possible for her to remain in that particular section of domestic limbo. And yet, how all this could be altered if, instead of stern indifference and probably impatience, her husband would try to be less a mule and more like a true gentleman. Meet his faithful partner with a loving, grateful kiss, a gentle caress, and by various delicate means try to change her cold nature into genial warmth, her total indifference into affectional, chaste desire, and when the loving union has become complete, a kind, enduring word and that tender embrace which women alone can appreciate will sustain the warm sympathies which have been awakened into life, as forerunners of true domestic bliss. Instead of such course, however, man, as a rule, after satisfying himself, turns away from his partner, and in 5 minutes is sleeping as sound as a log, calmly considered. What must woman's secret thoughts about such a husband be? Well, and I'll elucidate a little on why that is, right? So, many men, not having learned, having very little sexual prowess to begin, they're full of desire and rapid fire, right? They want to whip out their magic wand and just machine gun themselves out of existence. But they arrive at climax so fast and are unable to sustain genuine, loving, slow-moving, constant pressure that fills the womb of woman with that chi, that life breath that swells out and becomes a voluminous power, bringing her crescendo to climax. And then they can both rest. But the man instead, he shoots his seed out onto the ground or into the bushes or up some other dude's butt, right? And violates all natural law. And as a result, he defeats not only himself, but he defeats a positive pattern in the world that would bring about greater harmony for everyone. When man and woman are in disharmony, when the family's in disharmony, they break up, and then you get these broken families that bring broken children into the world. I, for one, am extremely grateful that my parents stayed married my entire life. They had marital bliss, they had their problems, but at least my father was a man, and a good man, and a great man even. He became a giant businessman at one point through his efforts in industry. And my mom was a beautiful, loving homemaker of a woman. So I am one of those rare individuals who grew up in a good family. And there are probably a few of you out there, but most people that are seeking some sort of higher message are the ones that come from brokenness. And I think it's the responsibility of those who have enough to give to those who do not have enough, right? And so if you're in a position where you can give a little, make sure you head over to www. You know the address. Let me throw it up here on the screen for you if you're interested. It's buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday, and you too can show your love and put a little something in the tip jar, right? Nothing wrong with that. That helps me keep my nose to the grindstone, and puts a little jelly in my donut. Everybody likes a jelly-filled donut. But there it is. It is enough, and more than enough has been said on the subject to make the student remember that a world of power for the bettering of our social life and the happiness of our homes lies within the realm of continual kindness and affectionate respect for man's superior companion, woman. Never should man be hasty. It is his duty to wait for her, no matter how long, until he wins the soul and passions, as well as the duty, respect, and obedience of the mysterious being he calls wife. God's profoundest miracle and nature's greatest masterpiece of organic beauty. And you see, this is something I realized early on. This right here, that Adam and Eve, man's wife, the gift from God, is the most profoundest miracle and grandest masterpiece of organic beauty. And it's so true, so true. She, the possessor and bearer of the mystical uterus, the mysterious womb from which spring all life atoms of divinity itself. The potential power of continual kindness between the sexes cannot possibly be estimated. It weaves that bound of union, that mystical link in nature, which, as the immortal Shakespeare says, makes the whole world akin. There is a vast difference between lust and love. Neither must the one be mistaken for the other. This fact alone is the true reason why our ascetical brethren of the Orient have so loudly proclaimed celibacy as the sine qua non of the neophyte's commencement in the path of initiation. The natural passions of all Orientals are infinitely more susceptible and excitable than the races of the West, and consequently more liable to lead them astray. So by the well-known rule, they have chosen the least of two horns of a most perplexing dilemma, and strictly commanded the complete destruction of the sexual nature. This in itself, so far as we of the Occident are concerned, is almost as great as a mistake of excessive indulgence. But we are now dealing with a different people, a race sprung from the frozen bosom of the hardy North, and therefore must completely ignore a code of rules that are so formulated as to be only specially adapted to the more sensitive offspring of warmer skies. Do not misunderstand this most important doctrine and conclude that sexuality is to be encouraged, for by so doing you will seriously err. And it's important that the Brotherhood of Luxor brought forward this great message for young aspirants and neophytes alike. because it's mostly misunderstood by modern man. And the second great deception that I've pointed out in my understanding, in my teaching, that I'm bringing forward, the second great deception is the deception of the feminine divinity and its vilification, and putting man and woman at odds with each other, and violating marital vows, and encouraging polyamorous relationships and homosexuality and transmorphosis of natural law. So it can't be done. It's a perversion, and it will not last. It must be uprooted like so many weeds in the garden and cast upon the ever-blazing flames of God's righteous fury. And you, me, and the other will work to do that. And we must work tirelessly in the garden of life to uproot not only the weeds that seek to choke out our own great virtues, but those that would infect the broader community at large. While someone's knocking on the door, guys, give me just a sec. Alright, it seems that someone was playing a little ding-dong ditch-em. They knocked on the door, and then they were gone by the time I got there and answered it. There wasn't a package at the door or anything. So that's a strange thing. Anyway, let's get back into it a little bit before we retire. So here in the teachings of the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor, they advise, do not misunderstand this important doctrine and conclude that sexuality is to be encouraged, for by so doing you will seriously err. All right, so this is the second great deception, the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, right? When they vilified the divine feminine and cast her out of the Trinity and tried to obfuscate it with something else, right? And they already usurped the idea of a mother and father archetype interacting to create a divine child, and said, well, there's just a fatherly archetype, and they ignore the mother. And I think this probably enrages her and is not fair. And that's why it's important that we learn about the supernal triad of Keter, Okma, and Bina, and we return the divine feminine to our spiritual cultivation. The sexual nature must only be exercised in those peculiar intervals when two souls become blended by their love into a harmonious one. And you know, when this happens, again, it's not lust that arises, but it's a emanation of a golden light that brings man and woman together for intimate harmoniousness. Nature seeks her own time for such intercourse. Therefore, keep complete control of self, patiently waiting for her. For the two must, in fact, when mystically considered, be truly husband and wife, and this in its highest and most sacred sense. Volumes of writing would be required to fully elaborate this delicate subject, and even then, much would have been left for the intuitional faculties of the neophyte to discover on his or her own. Many minor points are therefore left for his special private researches into the vast domain of sexual law. The chief rule to be always observed in this connection is to steadily avoid quick, sudden, or hasty conclusions, For the greater the heights of occult knowledge attained, the more clearly will you see how very little you really know, and how very simple, after all, are those truths of nature which you, after so much study, have been able to master. The profoundest mysteries of the cosmos, when discovered, are but laws of the most absolute simplicity. Nature is ever thus. The real gist of phallic mysteries taught by Ansaretic initiates of the Oriental priesthoods can be formulated into 21 slokas, or verses. They are a trinity of sevens, a statement of the 7 laws, powers, and principles, 7 rules of instruction, and 7 laws of precaution. The whole combined constitutes what is known as the legacy of Aphrodite. We'll get more into it next time, Neophyte, because our time runs short together. Neophyte, thank you for joining me. Thank you for participating in today's transmission. I am your Grand Wizard of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, bringing forward to you the legacy of Aphrodite, your friend and well-wisher, Frank Monday. Make sure you hit the likes on your way out, guys, and just go ahead and head over to buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday and show some love there, because love is the law. Love under will. I will finish today's brief transmission with the invocation of total integration. If you know it, say it with me. Heaven and earth are the spontaneous manifestations of the subtle, wondrous universal law. As the original oneness expresses itself, gross and subtle energies become distinctly divided. My bodily cave is brightly illuminated by the mysterious light from the 3 sources, my 3 Dantean bridge points leading to immortality. The powerful spirits of the 8 directions can join my being, true origin of life. By the absolute order of the divine Ling Bao in the highest 9th heaven, send the positive energies of Qian Luo, Dana, Duncan, and Taishuan to destroy my spiritual obstacles and debilitate any evil influence. This order is given by the highest sovereignty. It is a jade oracle from the subtle origin. I invoke with strong sincerity to drive away the demons and evils and lengthen my healthy years. The attained spirits respond. The evil demon king Mo Wang is chained to stand as my guardian servant. The powerful atmosphere has been generated, dispersing all negativity. The Chi of Tao is everlasting. So it is commanded and confirmed. So mote it be. Amen. Remember, O neophyte, goodness alone is power, silence is strength, will regaineth omnipotence, and love lieth at the foundation. Do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Greetings and salutations, Wayfarer. Welcome back. I hope you are doing well this evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you may be finding yourself today. At the top of the list of the 7 Hermetic principles is that of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. So what does it mean to work from within the mental sphere, right? What kind of things does that entail? Memory, logic, reason, intuition, analysis, evaluation, contemplation, introspection, retrospection. The tools of the mind, laying things out in clear lines, delineating, differentiating, distinguishing, dissecting. Those are some of the functions. There are more. We try to balance the engineer and the architect with the gardener and the artist. And I hope you find that harmony within your life, whoever you are, Wayfarer. If anyone's out in Happy Land, give me a shout out. I will run down the end of the show here if no one's going to participate. I only planned to be on for 30 minutes, but I figured I would open the chat if there's anybody out there in Happy Land that would like to talk shop, as it were, on this short transmission. If not, we can save it for another day. All right. Then I shall wander off into the abodes of the future ad astra, Wayfarer. Until we meet again, keep doing good magic, and bye for now.